We're here to celebrate a labor of love that's taken over a year, and the wonderful people and honored guests who helped to make that possible. So we have a short program where we're going to do that, talk a little bit about the history, the accomplishments, and look toward the future, making homelessness in Albuquerque rare, short-lived, and non-recurring. Following the presentation, please join our CEO, Dennis Plummer, to get the first public peek at our beautiful new respite area. He'll take you right around the corner, and then after that, you can warm yourselves up with some beverages that we have heated for you back there, and some refreshments. And with that, I will introduce proudly our wonderful and very good dancer of a board president, Daniel Mackey.
Thank you, Megan. That was very kind and uncalled for. I have a simple motto I follow in life and my professional life and in other areas, and that is if I can't improve upon the silence, I don't say anything at all. But today I think I can definitely improve upon it. Little history on MHP. The Metropolitan Homelessness Project was started in 2003 with 55 beds. It's now grown to 74 beds. And as you'll hear today, it's expanded beyond just the beds. And it's probably something not to celebrate that all of those beds are full every single night. But I think today that we can honor and celebrate two individuals who have, through their efforts, assured that 74 of our brothers, 365 days out of the year, can feel safe and not alone. First of all, Sam Carnes. Sam was a founding member of the Metropolitan Homelessness Project. He served on the board of directors from 2004 to 2011. He's chaired the operations committee for MHP as long as I can remember. He's managed and executed this expansion project from its onset, from beginning to end, and as I can personally attest as a board member, we thought this project would never end. He served on the Community Capital Advisory Committee for APS. He serves on the governing boards of the American Village Communities, Watterson, and El Paso AHF. He has a bachelor's in finance. He has a law degree. I'm glad he's not a competitor of mine. He is president of his own commercial brokerage firm, Carnes & Company. And in honor of his dedication, Albuquerque Heading Home is proud to dedicate the Sam Carnes Computer Room. Next, someone I consider a mentor, someone I consider an inspiration to me, a friend and a brother, the Reverend Trey Hammond. Trey has served as a member of the national staff of the Presbyterian Church and Urban Ministry. He's edited a journal on homelessness, which was award-winning. Long before he came to Albuquerque, he served on governing boards focused on finding solutions for homelessness in Dallas, Texas. He finally got his wits, and through thorough consultation with the Holy Spirit, he moved to New Mexico. He's a founding member of MHP. He's served as board president from 2003 to 2010. He's now back on the board with us, I'm happy to report. He is pastor of La Mesa Presbyterian Church here in Albuquerque. He serves as chair of Albuquerque Interfaith. He serves on the board of Hogares. It's with tremendous appreciation for his compassion and commitment that Albuquerque Heading Home dedicates the Trey Hammond Community Room.
I guess they knew as a pastor they needed to give me the mic for just a minute or two. Thank you so much. I have to tell you I'm incredibly grateful for this honor, and I'm even more so to be a part of this great organization. My journey with this with MHP began about 12 years ago when I joined the Homeless Advocacy Coalition. Some of you remember it. It was committed to rights for unhoused persons. And with the close of a facility on the fairgrounds that housed men in the winter in 2002, The need for a comprehensive program for men, including a year-round shelter, was critical, and HAC, the Homeless Advocacy Coalition, took up the challenge. This building, which was a Penske truck maintenance facility originally, was identified and bid for, and a loan secured from the Mortgage Finance Authority of the state. That was a high-risk venture on their part because our organization had no experience in running a shelter and very little money in the bank. HAC spun off a nonprofit called the Metropolitan Homelessness Project, which opened the Albuquerque Opportunity Center, or AOC, for 55 men in May, I think, of 2004. Those first few years, I'll tell you, were quite harrowing. Money was always a challenge. We were deep in debt, and there was a great deal of neighborhood opposition. But over time, this culture of respect that I think marks the Albuquerque Opportunity Center and the quality of the work that its staff did with the men to help each one of them craft a plan for themselves out of homelessness brought stability and the possibility for expansion. The first program that was added was geared for homeless veterans and was called VetTran. Then we added 6 respite care beds for those who needed a safe place to heal after surgery or illness. Then, with Mayor Barry's visionary leadership, the Albuquerque Heading Home Initiative, with its Housing First approach, was undertaken to house the 75 most medically vulnerable people living on the streets. With this new expansion we celebrate today, which was deeply subsidized by the city and many foundations, Heading Home, which is now the new name for our organization, can move forward with its mission of truly ending homelessness in our city. I was very privileged to be the board president for 8 years during the planning, building, startup, and operational phases. And when things got hard, I always trusted that this effort was so important for Albuquerque, it just could not fail. And it didn't. There are lots of thanks in order. In the acquisition and in the renovation stage, my friend Sam Carnes has always been a part. He found this building, he renovated it, and he's been head of all of our capital improvement projects since. We had the generous and inspired architects Denise Hammer and J-Mo Wright, who gave freely of their time and creativity to this effort. Ron Romero, I wish he was here, did a yeoman's job in giving the time and finding the donated materials to turn an old truck warehouse into a home. And thanks to Mike Robertson, where's Mike? There's Mike in the back. Mike was the executive director of HAC, and John Scott was the very first staff person who helped us think about this project. Josh Allison left a very secure job with the Mortgage Finance Authority, and he had helped secure the loan to make this possible in the first place, to take the helm of this high-risk venture startup, and he helped us get on the ground. He was capably followed in that role by Catherine Turnipseed and Susan Abbott, and now Dennis Plummer, whose skill and vision is opening new vistas for the organization. I'm also grateful to APS and to Kazito Wajinji, its capital master planner, who made possible these four donated portables. I'm also grateful to my congregation, La Mesa Presbyterian Church, for their generous financial support and advocacy from the beginning. There are lots of people on this journey whose contribution is worthy of having a building with their name upon it. But I can tell you I'm incredibly honored to be connected with a room intended to create community among people who are living through one of life's great challenges. So thank you for this honor. I have always felt it was a tragedy and a matter of justice that so many people find themselves homeless every night. And I believe that all of us gathered here are a part of it as staff and volunteers in bending the long arc of history towards justice, as Dr. King would say, building the beloved community. Let us continue that work. Thanks to you all.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing the Heading Home Board's only employee. To manage him is to manage a legion, and I mean that in the numeric sense, not the demonic one. He is the accelerator to our brakes, our great innovator and our energizer, Dennis Prummer, our Chief Executive Officer.
I'm supposed to say thank you, aren't I? Thank you, Dan. You know, today is what success looks like when we partner well and when we plan for smart solutions. And it's really an emergence and then the convergence of two stories, and I'll be brief. I know it's cold out here, but I also want to remind you about the people we serve that are sleeping out in this if it were not for places like this. So I think we can endure another few more minutes in celebration of this amazing occasion. The first story is a case of appendicitis. We had a gentleman who had his appendix taken out, and he was on our bus to come into the overnight shelter, and he nearly passed out trying to get on the bus. And at that time, this was in 2007, our policy for everyone was at 6 a.m. you were back on the bus and back out into the community to walk the streets. And so we looked at this gentleman and we said, we've got to find a better way. Sleep on the couch until we figure this out. And so we began from that moment to say, how could we allow some men a place to recuperate and rest? And so we did start with 3 beds that doubled under the able guidance of Dr. Arndell, Michelle Disco, and Rob Elgie. We're partnering deeply with the schools of medicine, pharmacy, and nursing at UNM, and they really helped us whip into shape a response to homelessness in the form of respite care. They also helped us double the beds, and then we ran out of money and support to help that man recover from appendicitis and others, and so we flipped to the VA, and so now we had a very amazing partnership with the VA. Jeff Gittleman, David Senna, Dr. Kinlock, and others who began to really help our veterans who needed 24-hour care. And from that, we began to see a possibility about housing, which is the second story. The second story happened more recently, a man named Kevin. And Kevin is housed through our Heading Home program. So he's one of those initial, maybe not the first 75, but now we're close to almost 300. He's in there somewhere. He's been housed now for over a year. But when we found Kevin, he, a war veteran, suffered traumatic brain injury, was living on the streets for many years, also suffering and dying of cancer. When we met with Kevin and were able to secure for him housing, which he's now been in for over a year, we were also able to connect him to his disability benefits. About 2 weeks ago, we got a knock on our office. Kevin came in with a $1,000 check. He said, I got my benefits back and you guys need to go out and help more people. You know, it's hard to share that story because it's so inspiring. When he was there thinking, have I dug deep enough yet? And I don't think I have. You know, I think these stories come together and tell me that there's a continuum of care for a continuum of needs, that we can take people. You Colin, did you get that? A continuum of care to a continuum of needs, so that if it's a gentleman who's just homeless and needs shelter, we have that. If it's a man who needs release from the Veterans Administration, or our new partnership that we're forming with Presbyterian Hospital, or with UNMH, if they're releasing somebody, we can now help that person recuperate medically, and then we can tie it all the way to permanent housing, so that as a client, we're not having to move people from system to system. So I think these many parts are coming together in these two stories, that we can respond to medical need and we can respond to housing need, and we can do it in a seamless continuum of provision of care through these amazing kind of partnerships. There are so many parts to this that I cannot share them all, and perhaps Doug or the mayor will share a couple more pieces of it, but we're seeing a new dawn, I think, on we're seeing a new solutions approach, and I'm so proud to be a part of this organization. For the Kevins, for the first man with appendicitis, for the women, the children that we're now serving as we look on to new solutions in other areas, female veterans, families whose children are in situations that would produce foster care. This building represents new hope because it's new solutions. I'll point out two things, I think, at the end about what you'll see when we go in, and I'll be quiet. I just want to thank a couple more people that I'd be remiss not to. Joelle Ackerman is my Chief Operations Officer behind me. You have been phenomenal. I could not have done this without you. Amazing. Jessica Casey, who's the Program Director for Respite Care. Jessica, I don't know if you know this, Jessica, and be careful if you volunteer with us. Jessica started out a volunteer in 2007. I can think of about 5 staff members who all started out as volunteers. So Jessica, along with a whole smattering of staff who are all here, and I can't thank you all enough for how much you do. So thank you to all of our staff. Dr. Arndale, who cannot be here with us. Dean Michelle Disco, thank you. Nursing instructor Rob Elgie, who also is on our board. Rob Elgie is with our nursing team from UNM. And your amazing team that meet monthly. There's a team of medical experts that meet monthly to figure out how to partner with this operation. Our services are now the student-run clinic for the school. So our future leaders and medical doctors and practitioners are here having their social determinant eyes opened about what health is. Also, thank you to the McCune Foundation, the Daniels Fund, Albuquerque Public Schools, to our new partners who are actually referring the gentlemen into these beds, UNMH, Crystal Franz, Presbyterian Sandra Podley, and Dr. Irene Agostini, Veterans Administration David Senna and his team, Dr. Kinlock and Jeff Gittleman. And last, I want to just give a shout out, especially to the city folk. Shandell and Rick, you have been so amazingly patient in this and helpful. We are so grateful for extensions. and a huge thank you to Denise and JMO, who have been, they've been amazing. Thank you so much. Finally, I want to publicly and personally acknowledge a man who is truly crucial and critical for all of this to have happened. Newly appointed Director of the Department of Family and Community Services, Doug Chaplin. As Doug comes, I'm going to steal a couple of words about you. Doug has a keen ability to see the big picture and to really imagine solutions. And from the very beginning, he understood that the connection between the social determinants of health and housing have to be tied together. Doug has been willing to champion the idea of testing new solutions here in this program, in this expansion, and in Albuquerque heading home. Doug, you've been such a cheerleader and a tough taskmaster as well throughout this process that I just want to thank you so much. So Doug Chaplin, please.
Thank you. Well, it's such an honor and a privilege to be here today. I'm so glad that you all came out and braving the cold with us today. You know, on any given night, there are over 1,700 folks that are homeless on the streets of the city of Albuquerque, and that's why this project is so crucial. This project and things like the emergency winter shelter that we do with the rescue mission, so that there's a warm place for people to go and get out of the cold at night. And I just so appreciative of those of you that do that and serve these folks on a day-to-day basis. The respite care facility is a transformation. It's a partial rehabilitation and new construction. It involved the renovation of about 1,700 square feet of existing space and the addition of about 2,500 square feet of new space. In this facility, we will be able to, heading home, we'll be able to provide medical respite care to men that are being discharged from the hospital, and rather than being discharged to the street or having to stay in the hospital for a longer period of time, they'll have a place to come. They'll be safe and warm and be able to recover so that they can get back to their lives and on with things. There's so many wonderful things that'll be going on here. 20 medical beds. the partnership Dennis mentioned with UNM, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Health, and New Mexico Outreach. You know, it's been a privilege and an honor to serve under the leadership of our next speaker because of his heart and compassion towards the mission for serving the most vulnerable of the citizens. The people of Albuquerque have better awareness of some of the issues surrounding homelessness and have come to embrace Albuquerque heading home. And because of his dedication to the cause of making homelessness rare, short-lived, and non-reoccurring, I am grateful for the opportunity to lead the Department of Family and Community Services and working on initiatives that embrace the smart way to do the right thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor R.J. Berry.
Wow, you know, it's great to come out today and celebrate everybody here and celebrate what you're doing. We're doing really big and meaningful things in our city, things that cross borders, that cross divisions, that cross policies, that cross partisanship, that cross, you know, this whole spectrum of viewpoints out there. I have found no one since we really got this kicked off. There were a few folks early on that were skeptical, but I can find no one now that can look me in the eye and say we're not doing the right things in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we're doing them for the right reasons, and we're doing them in a way that is making a huge difference. And that's because of all of you, and that's because of everybody behind me here today, and all those that came before us that cared about this issue, and who have taken their time and talent and their treasure and their hearts and put it towards making a difference in folks' lives. And this is just a great extension of all of that work that took place before I was ever the mayor, and it will take place long after I'm the mayor. My desire is to, while I'm the mayor, to be a part of making sure that it becomes sustainable, meaningful, and that it can't be easily unwound, if you will. And that's, once again, a testament to everybody that's here today. I was in, I'll tell a couple of brief stories, and I know it's cold out here, but as Dennis said, it's going to be cold for lots of folks tonight. They don't have a place to stay, so our work is far from finished. And I think this chill today should be a reminder to us that we have a lot left to do. But I was in Miami last week. I got asked by the State Department to come in with 2 other mayors and talk to mayors and officials from Latin America and Central America about the things that we're doing here that they can take as best practices and try to help them solve problems in their communities. That wouldn't happen without the work that you're doing out there. And so that's, you know, you're really putting Albuquerque on the forefront internationally now with some of these issues. And I'll tell one quick story. Last year we had our heading home Christmas party, and we invited some of our participants and some of those in our community that are leading the way by participating in Albuquerque Heading Home. And I see these folks as leaders. And one of the gentlemen went up and said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and pulled up his shirt. He said, look at that. And it was a scar. And he just had hernia surgery. And I said, gosh, it's a pretty good sized scar there, staples and the whole thing. And I said, how you coming with it? And he said, a lot better than last time when I got an infection and I almost died, and I had to spend weeks and weeks and weeks in the hospital to recover from that. And that's why today, I think, is really so important. When we talk about the smart way to do the right thing, we all, know it's the right thing, but it's saving lives, it's improving quality of life, it's making human outcomes better. That's what we want them to be. But it's also going to, at the end of the equation, be a lot less expensive. And it sounds weird to talk about that, but that's, I think, how we get people more engaged in this discussion, is we talk about the fact that we can take valuable resources that are being wasted on someone's human suffering and being able to now to reallocate those resources into helping others. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. So I'm just really proud of everybody that's here today. I want to thank Doug Chaplin, who is our new Director of Family and Community Services. He was a no-brainer. If there's such a thing as a no-brainer in government, Doug was it. Robin Otten did such a wonderful job of bringing the issue to the forefront in our administration, and we thank her for her efforts. Rick Herron, also, thank you for what you do. And Chandel, really, many, many thanks. I mean, you're the driver from the city standpoint, and we really appreciate that. Of course, Dennis Plummer, James Wright, and Dennis Hammer from the architecture firm, Steve Brunson and Steve Pinnell, general contractors from ESA, thank you so much. I can't go without thanking Megan. She's just a great face out there in the community, and people really respond to when she talks about things. And we just want to thank everybody that's involved. The city of Albuquerque, of course, has funding in here. The Daniels Fund has had funding in this project. The McCune Foundation, the Frost Foundation, the Veterans Administration. Just so many people coming together and doing this. None of us can do this alone. And certainly as a mayor, I'm not kidding myself. I'm glad to be part of this, but it's really you guys that deserve the praise. And one person that I'd like to call out real quickly, and he's not expecting this, Frank Padilla here. He's here from HUD. HUD's got $1.9 million, I think, into this whole process. And Frank's been a great leader, great mentor to me, helping me understand as a mayor how the city can do a better job of being that difficult taskmaster that you were talking about, or someone was talking about, Doug Chaplin. These are community resources, taxpayer resources that we're using. And we want to make sure that they're being used properly, wisely, through stewardship and all those things. And Frank's really been instrumental. I don't know if you want to say a few words, Frank, or not, but I do want to thank you personally. Look like you're pretty hunkered down there. Got your collar up.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So listen, let me just end on this. It's just an honor and privilege for me to get a chance to serve a community that takes this amount of effort and this amount of love and just saturates a difficult issue that cities across the world face, and really shows the world how it can be done right. And so congratulations to all of you, and God bless, and have a wonderful 2014, because somebody else is going to have a wonderful 2014 because of the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.